Hi, today I'm going to be walking you through the Breakout Box, Do You Know Your Moo, provided by Kansas Corn STEM and the Kansas Beef Council. Hi, my name is Jessica Sadler, and I'm a 6th grade science teacher and lead teacher for Kansas Corn STEM. Today, we're going to be talking about the Breakout Box, Do You Know Your Moo, provided by Kansas Corn STEM and the Kansas Beef Council. Let's get started. If you've used a Breakout Box before, or you haven't, it's a great idea to have your hasp block. I like to give a couple hint cards. These are a nice strategy and easy to use if you give them to a student who maybe will need some prompting to help participate or might need a role. I usually give those to those students, and then they're kind of the hint master, and whenever they choose to use a hint, that student is the one that gets to decide and help turn it in. It gives everybody a place. When you start this Breakout Box, you're going to start with the storyline going from here. Welcome back to Do You Know Your Moo? Today's contestants are all from Kansas and will be battling it out to be crowned Beef Master. Not only will they receive this prestigious title, but they will also walk away with some marvelous prizes. They'll be answering questions on everything from cuts of beef to differences in grain and grass-finished beef. Sit back, relax, and get ready to play along with Do You Know Your Moo? In class, I would have this projected, and at the end of Do You Know Your Moo, that would be when I would start the timer and students would get up and begin the lesson. First up, we're going to talk about how the color lock works. These three pieces will need to go together. You have a cell phone text from favorite child. We have our cuts of beef. And we also have what they look like when they're a primal cut. Okay? When you're doing this, I sometimes will leave these three things together. If I have a group that works a little more quickly, I might separate them out just to add a little extra challenge. Anything is okay. You know your students best, so you'll make that decision. The way that it works is as you look through this text message, you can see that this is an exchange between a mom and their child, and they're talking about what to have for dinner. The most important part is right here, where it's the order that is being picked up. Also, there is an additional clue right here that says make sure you double check the amount I asked for. If you're having students struggling with this lock, this is a really great place to point them back to. What they will have to do is they will take the order right here, grab 3 orders of back ribs. Students will then have to look at the cuts of beef infographic and find the back ribs. For this video, I have pre-dotted them for myself, so they're easier to find. You wouldn't necessarily want to do this for your students. When I get to the back ribs, I see that that primal cut is from a rib, or the rib section. Students will need to understand that it says 3 and from the rib section. So when we look at this main graphic, rib is in yellow, meaning that yellow will be the 3rd color on the lock. Next, they're supposed to pick up 2 culotte steaks. For that, I need to go back to here, find where those are. Again, I have it pre-dotted, you might not want to do that. We see that the primal cut is sirloin. I would look to the colors over here and I see orange, so I know that the 2nd color should be orange in my color code lock. We go on to the next piece of order, 4 strip steaks. I can go straight to that place and I see that that is coming from the loin section. So your 4th color should be loin. We need 5 eye of round steaks. That is going to be the 5th color in your lock, and it is this magenta color. It shows up a very pink matched on here, so it won't be the purple, it will be the magenta color. And then the last one that you need is 1 pound of shoulder petite tender medallions. And that will end up being your 1st color since you need 1 pound of it, and that is where you get your red from in this chuck section. Once this lock comes off, it will be on the main box. That's one lock down and you're good to go. Something that I do like to do on all of the locks that have the spinning dials, it doesn't matter what color or what kind, but I like to add a piece of tape at the beginning of it. It does have a small silver marking, but if students have the combination right and they start at the wrong side of the lock, it won't open for them. So it's nice to give them a reference point for where to start every time. Somewhere within your classroom, you'll have this small box hidden. If you have a class, again, that solves things more quickly, you may want to make it more difficult. If they might take a little bit more time, you can make it slightly easier to find. Within this box, you are going to have the cattle breed cards locked inside with the key lock. These I've printed larger just to visualize, but they are a smaller size and fit in the box very nicely. When students get this open, they'll separate them all out for themselves. And they'll see that they have various cattle breeds, as well as their name and a description about that cattle breed. And they also have a clue card, which says, do you know your ABCs? Try it out with cattle breeds. Ultimately, the students will need to alphabetize the names of the cattle breeds. And then once that has been alphabetized, then they will also sort the pictures under the correct space. Okay, when that is done, they will end up with the code that is required to open the 4-digit lock for themselves. So we'll go ahead and finish that. Okay, and once that is done, they will see 5863. That's what makes the alphabetizing really important and why there's a clue card in there for that. There is also an additional card in there called Red, Black, or Cream. All beef is nutritious. That covers several of the highlights and extra information about beef itself and the breeds. Okay. That will take off your 4-digit lock. Again, that code is 5836. Okay. Next up, we're going to talk about the 3-digit lock. The code for this is 245. This I leave just laying out somewhere. It doesn't necessarily, the mat, it doesn't necessarily need to be hidden anywhere specific unless you choose to. What students will come to discover when they're trying to put in the code is that the 2 of the combination has been put in the clue. It has also been bolded. So if they're struggling with where is the other number, that might be a great place to advise them as a hint. They will then take the 9 grain and grass finished cards, and they will be sorting them into the correct side of the plate. As they read them, they will make decisions. Sometimes I encourage students, if they're not quite sure, to put it to the side and come back to it later. When they are finished sorting the cards, they should have 4 in one column and the 5 in grain finished in the other. After doing that piece, they will then go to the lock, put in 2, 4, 5, and that should take it off the main box. Something that I would also highlight about this lock and the 4-digit lock, you really want to make sure that they have the numbers lined up in the holes on the side. Sometimes they'll try to do it from the top angle and get frustrated when it doesn't unlock. Okay. Next, we'll discuss the beef life cycle and the directional lock that goes with that. Again, you'll notice I have that colored tape. Super helpful, super important for them to feel successful. For this, these can be scattered either randomly, all by themselves. You can also do a few that are out together. Sometimes I will take extras, like I might leave 3 out, and that just so enough that they know they're looking for arrow cards, and I might tape the others on desks or in random places, or you can leave them in a pile. It's up to your discretion. What they will need to do is after they have found or have all of the arrow cards, there is a little bit of a red herring one left in here, so they kind of have to decide, whoa, where does that go into this cycle? They will use a QR code, either a cell phone, iPad. You can do it with a device as well. They'll scan this QR code, and it's going to take them to the beef.org Beef Life Cycle website. They'll scroll down, and the definitions that are here will match the titles of that life cycle and what they're learning as they look through the website. Ultimately, when they're done organizing the cards, they should have up, They should have down, up, right, left, and then these are the extra ones that would still be there for them. And then the last clue that we're going to talk about right now would be the key lock. This key lock is going to go onto this small breakout box that you're going to hide somewhere within your room. Okay. Once the key lock is on there, you'll have the key taken off, separate from the others. And then you have this graphic that says products made from cattle. This is very much up to you and what you have in your classroom. So what you're going to want to do is you'll look through all of your options and you will find an item that you'd like to bring in. I typically range from cosmetics are an easier thing to do, maybe cake mixes, something like that, truly whatever's best for you. You're going to use your invisible ink pen that does come in your box, and you're going to indicate that item somewhere on here. You can highlight over it. Sometimes, depending on your paper quality, it can act a little different or behave differently. So what I do is make the markings on the side so they're visible, but it doesn't affect the word. Okay. Whatever item that you've chosen, so for this one, let's imagine that I chose a candle. I'm going to have the key attached to a candle, and that candle is going to be placed somewhere in my room. If I have a group that tends to solve things more quickly, I like to pick items that are typically always in my room anyway. So I usually hide it under something that doesn't instantly draw their attention, versus if I randomly have a box of cake mix, that looks a little suspicious. If it's a group that might need a little more assistance, I might pick a different item and have that out for them. It depends on your students and your preference for what you have in your room. Once all the locks have come off, you have the option of some fabulous success posters. So we are utterly awesome. We're also good at calculus, beef masters. Our teacher steered us in the wrong direction. We are not a moose. The stakes were too high, and just call me sirloin. So there's a nice variety. If you have groups that unfortunately don't break out, you can still celebrate their efforts. If you have groups that do, there are plenty for those as well. And then the last couple things you may want to do with your students is a little bit of a reflection or an assessment. This comes within the lesson, so it is a very small few questions assessment to test over the different topics that they should be able to answer from completing the breakout box. So they're going to be tested on those cuts of beef, the beef breeds, beef byproducts, the difference in grass finished and grain finished, as well as that beef life cycle. You can also have them, these will come in your box. There are reflection cards that are in there. There are a wide variety. Some are a little more SEL focused, where they will talk about what made them a good group member, how they benefited to their group, what did they do, and it covers a little bit more of that being a team player and collaborative aspect. There are also ones that can cover the material, and then you can even put in facilitator, make your own questions to use to quiz them. So maybe you might write that on the card that from the paper. It's, again, up to you. That concludes the lab of Do You Know Your Moo? Thank you so much for joining us. This was provided by Kansas Corn STEM and the Kansas Beef Council.